Oh, no. I'm not dead yet. And welcome to this edition of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast. I had something on my brain that I wanted to say there, and I just couldn't get it out to say it. Hope everybody's doing well. Wherever you're listening to this program, whether you're listening to it live on Sunday nights on AM 970 The Answer, or you're listening to it at whatever time that you're listening to it, when you're downloading and listening at your leisure, I welcome you to this program. Portions of this program are brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 Main Street in beautiful Rahway, New Jersey. You want to check them out. A new batch of Too Much Fun will be coming out very, very soon. It's delicious. I had a friend who was at the brewery last week. He tried to get it. They didn't have any cans, and it wasn't on tap. I told him he should have just swung by my house. I had a couple of cans. I could have given him one. Oh, well. What are you going to do? Not Dead Yet. That's the new single from Envy of None. That's the band that Alex Lifeson, formerly of Rush, had been performing with. Don't know if he's on this new one. I'm assuming that he is, but he might not be. But pretty good stuff. I like it. It's a complete departure from what Alex was playing when he was playing in Rush. So that's very, very cool. Now, coming up in 20 minutes, Ricky Boyance. He is the man behind Mad Love Beer. It's available for purchase around Staten Island, a couple of spots in New York City. You want to check these guys out. I just discovered them about 2 weeks ago. Had no idea that they were, brewing beer. Apparently, they're brewing beer at Flagship Brewing. Their address is 40 Minthorn Street, which is right where Flagship Brewing is. So they're Gypsy Brewing. They don't have a physical location, but it's an interesting story. You want to check it out with me and Ricky coming up in just about 20 minutes from now. So a bunch of different news things to get to here. Mob Craft Brewing announced that the Milwaukee-based craft brewery is being sold on December the 1st. Included in that sale, the brewery, its taproom, and intellectual property. The brewery did not name the expected buyer. The founder of Mob Craft and CEO Henry Schwartz said in the announcement, "We've poured our heart and souls into the brewery and our community, but reached a point where we could no longer operate as a standalone organization. When the opportunity came up to sell the brewery, we decided to consider it to keep our brand around at wholesale and keep as many of our staff members as possible employed in our tap rooms. We're in the midst of working on the deal now. There will be and there will be changes, but they're not fully known yet. The Mob Craft you know and love today won't exist in its entirety after this process, but some aspects will. And between now and our last day of official Mob Craft operations, we aim to celebrate our existence and all we've achieved over a few pints. There are events that are scheduled for the next couple of weeks. Then there'll be a final party on November the 30th, which is a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Mobcraft was founded in 2013 and was known for crowdsourcing its beers, allowing drinkers to vote on ideas for new products. The brewery's output increased 27% in 2023 to 3,712 barrels of beer, according to data from the Brewers Association. So, sort of closing, but not closing. They're changing hands. All right, that's a good. Maybe that is a good thing. Allagash Brewing is headed to the land of 10,000 lakes. They are headed to Minnesota. They are in Minnesota this month with Clear River Beverage Company. Their territory includes the 15 counties that surround Minneapolis and St. Paul, which is home to two-thirds of the state's population, according to the release. The craft-centric distributor's book includes imports, cider, wine, spirits, non-alcoholic beverages, and THC and CBD-infused drinks. Allagash will offer the following products and package formats in Minnesota. They'll have white in 16-ounce can 4-packs, 12-ounce can 6 and 12-packs. They'll also have them in 19.2-ounce single-serve cans and on draft. They'll have the triple and 12-ounce bottles of 6-packs, Curex in 12-ounce bottle 4-packs, and the Seasonal House Series, Ski House, Surf House, and Haunted House, all of those in 12-ounce cans of 6 and 12-packs. So kudos to Allagash for moving into Minnesota. They don't make many moves, so it'll be interesting to see if Allagash is deciding to spread out even more before the end of this year or into the beginning of next. Voters are saying yes to allowing alcohol sales in a dry South Jersey town. In Haddon Heights, New Jersey, they voted overwhelmingly on Election Day to let the booze flow. The town has been dry for 120 years, no bars or liquor stores, but that is about to change. Residents have okayed a consumption license measure allowing the sale of alcoholic beverages by license holders both on and off their premises. The mayor supports the move, saying it'll be beneficial to the community. Now, I believe the population of Haddon Heights is just around 10,000 or a little. It's either a little over or a little less than 10,000. So that would mean they would have 2 liquor licenses to sell, because the way liquor licenses work in New Jersey, it's 1 license for every 3,000 people. So, no, actually, it would be 3 licenses. Excuse me. If it's 10,000, it'd be 3, 3, 6, 9. So you'd be able to have 3 licenses. I'm pretty sure, though, I read somewhere when they were voting on this, it was only going to be 2. So it's less than 10,000. It's less than 9,000 people that live in Haddon Heights. So it's either 2 or 3 licenses. And again, there's a bidding process. I'm wondering how this is going to. Wondering if they're going to designate one for a liquor store or a bar, since there's no real bars in the town. Maybe a liquor store. We'll see what happens there. As soon as we get more information, we will certainly get it to you. Invertas Brewing has announced plans to open up a second location in the city of Lambertville next spring. They recently marked their 5-year anniversary. They've announced an expansion to the Riverfront City. This was from a Facebook post. The family-owned business Invertas Brewing Company will be opening at 80 Lambert Lane in 2025. The space once housed River Horse Brewing, so that's the old River Horse location that they're taking over, the very, very first River Horse location, it looks like. And the Invertas said a huge thank you to all of our amazing customers. We couldn't have done this without all of you. They will join Triumph and Great Barn Brewing Company in the new Hope Borough. So that's great. Good news for Invertas that they will be heading there, and that's really good news. I like that. I'm pretty happy for them. Let's see what happens as they move on. And then this is a story. It's done all the time, but I would like to discuss it because it is sort of, it's a little skewed, right? The Post did a story about how this New York City airport has the most expensive beer in the U.S., nearly as much as the price of a whole case. Now, you'd think, a whole case? Oh, my goodness. How much could it be? Is it $60? No. So, a new study by Finance Buzz analyzed regular-sized domestic macro brews, such as Budweiser and Coors, at the 50 busiest U.S. airports to determine which ones charge the most. So they figured out that LaGuardia is the most expensive. A regular domestic beer costs $13.83, 54% higher than the national airport average. Of course, you could buy a case of Bud Light or Miller Lite for about $16, right? So for the price of a case of Miller Lite or Bud Light, you can buy a beer at LaGuardia. In 2021, let me see here. All these drop ads are annoying. In 2021, the company that operates restaurants and stores at the airport was busted because they sold the Sam Adams Summer Ale for $27.85. Meanwhile, the Finance Buzz report revealed that San Francisco at $12.61 and Dallas-Fort Worth at $11.99 had the second and third most expensively priced beers, respectively. JFK came in fourth with an average beer price of $11.82 per the survey. Rounding out the top 5 was Hawaii's Honolulu International Airport. That's at $11.21. Newark, oddly enough, is ninth on the list at $10.41, making New York City the only city serviced by multiple airports that ranked in the top 10. So number 6 was Seattle. The average price $11.21. Number 7, Las Vegas. Number 8, Chicago. 9th was Newark, and then Austin, Texas was 10th at $10. Now, again, there's a lot of volume. These are these are big cities, right? So they said the most affordable airports. Oregon's Portland International at $6.81. For Southwest Florida International Airport at $7.29. That's in Fort Myers. And Louisiana New Orleans International Airport at $7.31. And then Bush Continental Airport in Houston rounded out the top 5 at $7.36. Now, again, you have to take this with a grain of salt. It's Bud Light and Coors and Miller and whatever, right? For most people that are listening to this program, they're not buying that type of beer. They're buying a craft beer, if there is one available. I know there are some at Newark. I don't know if there's – I think there might be Brooklyn Brewery at JFK and LaGuardia or whatever. But for the most part, it's macro brews. I, for one, when I fly, I don't drink before I get on a flight, normally. Once in a blue moon, when I went out to San Diego a couple of years ago, had one beer before we got on the flight, and then drank water the rest of the way because you dehydrate when you're in the air. So it's probably not the smartest move in the world to drink before you get on a plane. They tell you that all the time, but some people they want to have one, and that's fine. Just don't overindulge. But would I pay $15 or $13 or whatever it is for a Bud Light? Absolutely not. I wouldn't pay $5 for a Bud Light. But that's me. I drink better beer. Let's put it that way. All right? But, again, LaGuardia was just rebuilt. Of course they're going to charge higher prices. Same thing with JFK. Same thing with Newark. You get what you pay for. That's just how it goes. Kind of silly. They do that study as if it's like sticker shock to people. I don't know. When we come back after a short break, we'll have more news and notes from around the beer world. This is the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now.
And welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Little Oasis, going way back to 1995 and Wonderwall. They'll be touring next summer. The brothers are back together and touring. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they make it through the entire tour without a fight. You never know. I am not planning on going to that show. I was never the biggest Oasis fan in the world. I mean, I like them. I like, some of their stuff, but never enough to say, I got to see these guys. And, with the ticket prices the way they are, just not for me. I'd rather pay $30 to see a really great artist than to pay upwards of $200 to see somebody just for the experience. You know what I'm saying? Like Teddy Swims next year, he's playing Radio City. He's playing a couple days after Memorial Day. My wife was like, maybe we should go. He sounds really good, and I like him. But the prices at Radio City, it was outlandish. Like the third mezzanine or whatever it is, $200-something a ticket. No way. Sorry. I mean, I like the guy, but my goodness, that's not going to happen. Coming up in just a few minutes, Ricky Boyance. He's the man behind Mad Love Beer, available for purchase around Staten Island, a couple spots in New York City as well. MadLoveBeer.com is his website. We will get into it with Ricky. Just why he started this, how you can get it, and why he decided to do a lager and an IPA first. We'll get into that in just a few minutes from now. All right, so beer news that's happening around the country. Heavy Seas, we got more details on their 29th anniversary party, which is taking place on Saturday, December 7th. We mentioned it on last week's program. So they want you to join them in the tap room, obviously. It is free for people, but if you want a VIP experience, here's what you get. You get a VIP admission from noon to 3. So you get 3 hours, VIP. You get a meet and greet with founder Hugh Sisson and brewmaster Chris Leonard. You get 4 drink tickets for 10-ounce pours of vintage and limited release beers: Blackbeard's Breakfast, The Greater Pumpkin, Red Eclipse, and Siren Noir. That's pretty cool. Excuse me. Delicious appetizers from Cooper's Pit Stop. And you get take-home souvenirs: a logo pint glass, a 6-pack of vintage Siren Noir, and 15% off merch and to-go beer. That's a pretty good deal. If you want to do an add-on, a VIP brewery tour led by Hugh Sisson, it's $15. There's only 25 spots available. That's pretty cool. So the VIP ticket price is $80, and it's limited to 100 tickets. That's not bad. hsbeer.com, click on events. It'll take you right there to the site. You can click on it, or you can just hit them up on Facebook. There's a link there, and it'll take you direct to the page to buy a ticket for the VIP experience. It's only limited to 100 tickets, so very important. The New York City Brewers Guild has put out an announcement for folks to save the date. And what date would that be? Well, that would be Saturday, February 22nd of next year in Industry City. It'll be the kickoff to New York City Beer Week. They're working on the details. Tickets are not on sale yet, but they wanted to give you all a heads up to add it to your calendar. For Opening Bash 2025, we are working on some new ideas and we'll keep you all in the know. For now, just put it on your radar to save the date and stay tuned, and thank you for supporting New York City Brewed. This is a fantastic event. I go to it every year. It's all the New York City breweries in one room. Then they invite guest breweries to pour with them at various spots throughout Industry City. And Industry City is a great place. You can drive to it. There's parking right in the back, very convenient. You can get there via subway. It's a short walk. I forget what trains go there, but it's a short walk from the train. They've done this the last couple of years in Industry City. It has been an enormous success. The first time around, they had both rooms open with other half taking over like half of the room. Last year, it was condensed to one room. I thought it had a great flow to it. Was not super crowded, but enough. And certainly do the VIP hour. Do the first hour because it is absolutely worth it. You get in there early. There's less people. You can get around, get some great tastings, and then there's other stuff that happens throughout the time that you're there. It's phenomenal. If I were you, do it. I will be there. I hope to see many of you there. It is a lot of fun. Treehouse. Now listen to this. So Treehouse has all these other locations, right? They got the Charlton, Tewksbury, Deerfield, Sandwich, Massachusetts, Woodstock, Connecticut. Another tap room is being planned for Saratoga Springs, New York. Well, now they have applied for a pouring license for a brewery and distillery at Boston's Prudential Center retail complex. The proposed 35,000 square foot location would include a 5-barrel brew house, 3 5-barrel fermenters, 2 5-barrel bright tanks, a commercial kitchen, spaces for on and off premise retail, a close to 3,200 square foot patio, and 192 square foot distillery area. Now, Treehouse already has a presence at the Prudential Center in Boston's Back Bay neighborhood. The brewery hosted a pop-up beer garden there during the summer. They launched the to-go sales from a storefront in the building in September. So you can order the beer, pull right up, they put it in your car, and you're on your way, which is fantastic. And as I said, they have all these tap rooms all across Massachusetts. This is pretty cool. If they get approved by this for this Prudential Center retail complex to have a brewery in there, wow. I mean, unbelievable. But even though Treehouse was the country's largest taproom brewery by volume last year, despite they recorded an 11% decline in production to just under 40,000 barrels of beer. That, according to the Brewers Association May-June issue of the New Brewer. In Chicago, listen to this. About a week or so ago, Mayor Brandon Johnson unveiled his $17.3 billion budget for fiscal year 2025. It includes a $300 million property tax hike that's been widely discussed, but this is the important one. Johnson's budget also includes a proposal to rail retail tax rates on alcohol. Johnson's budget states they're the first such increases in 16 years. The proposed increases to wholesale transaction prices per gallon are as follows. A 34% increase for beer, a 36% increase for liquors other than beer with less than 14% ABV, a 34% hike for those liquors between 14 and 20%, and then a 35% increase for liquors with more than 20% ABV. The Distilled Spirits Council of the United States, which is a national lobbying group, has come out against the budget. The council sent out a news release. The hospitality industry has been relentlessly hit with economic challenges over the last 4 years, starting with the pandemic and followed by supply chain disruption, staffing shortages, and record inflation, said Andy Deloney, Distilled Spirits Council's vice president and head of state public policy. That is an enormous hit of taxes on beer and spirits. That's not a good thing. I think you're going to see more breweries in Chicago and distilleries saying, you know what, I'm getting out of the game before it gets too hot for me. It's just saying. Speaking of which, a new report says drinking increased during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it didn't decrease after life started returning to normal. The study covered drinking levels in 2018, 2020, and 2022. The study was published this past Monday in the Annals of Internal Medicine. I do see that more people are drinking. Now, they haven't done this study in a couple of years. I'm wondering if it's backed off a little bit. I don't think that it has, but we shall see. One of the stories that we missed last week on the program, Lord Hobo and Lone Pine, it was because it was late in the week. They have merged. It was a deal that was announced by Brewbound about a week and a half ago. The two companies are maintaining their own names and identities. They're operating as part of a new platform that will support brand building, quality, and innovation. They're also looking for other partners to help continue to grow and stretch relatively quickly. That from CEO Simon Thorpe of Lord Hobo, who told Brewbound, the company's declined to share financial terms of the transaction. It's expected to close in Q4 pending regulatory approval. Valterra Partners, though, the private equity firm that first acquired a minority stake in Lord Hobo in 2017, is the principal investor behind the new ownership group. So it sounds to me they want their return on their investment and they want to get their money back. I'm wondering if this stays together for an extended period of time. We shall find out. Finally, our good friends from Stone Brewing, which recently celebrated their 28 years in brewing. Stone Imperial Stout is back. 10.5%, black as midnight. It's one of the beers that helped cement their reputation as champions of big, bold, intensely flavorful beers. It's an incredibly rich and complex beer, has notes of dark chocolate, coffee, vanilla, which come purely with water, yeast, roasted malt, and hops. That's right, loaded with all these flavors, despite no added ingredients. It is shipping out nationwide this week. It is available at all Stone locations right now. So kudos to Stone for that. When we come back after a short break, guess what? Ricky Boyance, the man behind Mad Love Beer, is going to join me on the program. Mad Love Beer happens to be made on Staten Island, where I was born and raised. And, of course, portions of this program are brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 Main Street in Rahway, New Jersey. Another batch of Too Much Fun is about to come out very soon. The Hazy IPA, that's been a big success. A lot of people like it. I've not heard too many negative reviews. And, again, positive, negative. If you have a say on it, please let me know. Albert G at NYCRadio.com. Hit me up on the socials and give me your thoughts on Too Much Fun. But thanks to Wet Ticket Brewing for sponsoring portions of the Algatullo Craft Beer Cast, which is heard right here on AM 970 The Answer. Well, welcome back to the Algatullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. It's nothing like a little Killers. I missed them on their last tour. They played in September over in Queens, but missed out. I forgot what it was. It was a Sunday night. I didn't want to take the Monday off from work. That's probably why I didn't end up going. And I finally got a chance to see them live for the first time last year at See Here Now down in Asbury Park. But we're going to go to Staten Island, the place where I'm born and raised. And we're going to talk to a guy who just started his own beer. Now, it's been a few years to get it going. He's sort of chronicled his journey through Instagram. But back in September, he was finally able to release not one but two beers, a lager and an IPA. We'll get into both of those beers in a moment. But I was intrigued because not only because of the name of the beer, but his mission of coming out with beer. And I reached out to him on Instagram. He got right back to me. And lo and behold, we have him on the program right now. For more info on the beer and the clothing that they sell, yeah, there's clothing attached to the beer as well. Just go to madlovebeer.com. Let me welcome to the Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. For the first time, it's Ricky Boyance. Ricky, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem, not a problem. Now, how did Mad Love become a concept that became a beer?
Well, the whole thing in general, just wanting to start a brewery came about probably like 7 years ago now. I mean, I was like 23. I wasn't even like a brewer at the time. I wasn't even a home brewer. It was just kind of like an idea with my friends, like, let's find something we can do where we can be our own bosses one day. And that, in 2017, craft beer, I feel like, was, at least in my mind, like at its peak. All the hype beer, all the hazy IPAs, and all the crazy beers that were coming out, the beer releases that people would line up to. So back then in our minds, like, craft beer, this is, let's get into it. Let's do something. Let's open something. So 7 years later, I was kind of the only one that actually stuck with that idea. I kind of just, had tunnel vision. I was like, all right, what am I going to do to get to that goal of opening up my own brewery? My two other friends kind of fell in love with other things here and there, and I stuck with it. So, yeah, I mean, I can get into the whole journey if you want, but Mad Love, as a, that name specifically, I'm so heavily into music, so
Right.
sometimes I'll just be listening to one of my favorite bands or an album, and I'm like, oh, like what if I took that album name, or took this, or took that, and kind of made my brand around that. So there's actually this band called Microwave. They're from Atlanta, and they have an album called Much Love. And I absolutely love the album. I was just listening to it one day, and I was like, oh, what if I made that sound like it was from New York, and just said Mad Love. I used to say Mad growing up, the Mad this, Mad that, and then my dad would make fun of me because he was like, "What do you mean mad? Mad what? You know what I mean?"
Right.
So,
What are you mad at? Right.
Yeah. Like, what do you? He's like, and then he would like make fun of it and say like, "Oh, this is glad this is glad that."
Right.
so I was like, Mad Love, kind of like not really out of spite, but like it kind of like felt like like a personal thing almost. And then I just told it to my friends. You always get the closest people's opinions, and they're like, "Oh, I actually kind of like that." So I was like, "All right, cool. Well, I'm going to stick with this." That happened probably like 2022.
Okay.
And then I just kind of went on from there, and then kind of created this concept and brand from that name.
So, all right, so you use the word mad a lot. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, for us in the 80s, it was always mint. Everybody was mint. You look mint. This is mint. That's mint. So I get it that the mad thing attaches there. And I love the fact that you've tied music into beer, that your favorite album, favorite group, whatever, has sort of coalesced into this beer, because I do think that there is a major connection between music and alcohol, and music and beer specifically. We're talking with Ricky Boyance. He's the man behind Mad Love Beer, which is available for purchase around Staten Island and a couple of spots in New York City as well. For more info on the beer and the clothing they sell, you just go to madlovebeer.com. They're also on Instagram at madlovebeernyc. We're here on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. So I'd be remiss if we didn't get into the beers themselves. You've got two out so far, Low Life Lager and Liquid Love IPA. Both of them are low ABVs. Was that intentional when you were making them?
Yeah, so those, when I made my first beers, I just wanted to make two beers that I knew I was going to have year round, and beers that I can sell to anyone. There's so many people that drink beer, but then when you bring up the words craft beer, they're like, I don't know. Like they think of beers that are like 7-8%,
right,
overly hopped, sour, things like that. So I wanted to make craft beer that people would be surprised that they liked. So these are just two craft beers that I wanted to make that reminded me of non-craft beers almost. The Low Life Lager is basically like my version of a Miller High Life, hence the name Low Life. And then the Liquid Love is just like an all-day IPA, just like one of the easiest IPAs you can drink. So it still gives you that that hot punch, that tropical punch, without getting bombed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
no.
IPAs,
And Ricky, I totally understand that, because I have friends who still live on Staten Island, and they're still drinking Mick Ultra and Yuengling, and I'm trying to get them to just try a couple of craft beers, and it's sort of hit or miss, but I've taken them to a couple places, and they've actually embraced them, which is always good. Now, your address for your place is on Minthorn Street, which is, of course, where Flagship Brewing is. Are they brewing your beers, or are you doing it on your own?
So I have what's called an alternating proprietorship with Flagship. So I used to work there. I've been working there since 2018. And then starting this year, we got that alternating proprietorship in place. I stopped working for Flagship, and now I just completely work for myself. So I basically rent out space from them, and I go in there myself, and I do everything myself. Obviously, with some heads up and with some coordination, it all gets done. Obviously they trust me because I've been there for so long, and we just have like a really good thing going on and a good relationship,
but that's
I love them. And
so I didn't mean to interrupt, Ricky, but that's interesting because it's an alternate proprietorship. So you have full control over what you're making, whereas opposed to a gypsy brewer, would go to another brewery who would brew their beer. You'd give them the recipe and the ingredients, and they would make your beer based off of your recipe. You'd have some control over certain things, but that brewery would actually brew the beer. You're actually controlling everything here when you make your beer.
Yeah, so Mad Love Beer is actually a brewery. Like a lot of so when I was working at Flagship, we were making Back Home Beer, which is I don't know if you've heard of Back Home Beer, but it's owned by Zara. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm not going to try.
Okay.
She's an Iranian woman who lives in Brooklyn. I believe she's from Georgia, but her family is obviously from Iran.
Right.
And she contracts all of her beer through Flagship. And now I believe she contracts somewhere else also, but that's not the point. The point is she started, when she started Back Home Beer, wasn't actually a brewery. It was more of just like a beer entity who would, like you said, gypsy brew, contract brew. So she didn't actually have a brewer's license at the time. I think she's getting one now. Of course, she's trying to open up her own brewery, but Mad Love Beer is a licensed brewery within Flagship. So it's two breweries that actually coexist, which is awesome. So that if I ever open up my own brewery, I just transfer the license over. So yeah, it's a little different. I actually didn't even know I can do this until recently. So once somebody kind of led me in that direction, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do this because I would rather just go in there, do all my own stuff, do it the way I know how to do it.
Right, and not have to worry about the overhead, not have to worry about the overhead and the other stuff that comes with owning a brewery. So I totally get that. We're talking
of course, yeah.
We're talking with Ricky Boyance. He's the man behind Mad Love Beer, which is available for purchase around Staten Island, a couple spots in New York City as well. MadLoveBeer.com is the website for more information. They're on Instagram at MadLoveBeerNYC. We're here on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970. The Answer. Now, I got to say, I've been looking at the apparel on the website, and along with the beer that you can purchase if you live in New York, and it looks amazing. Were those designed by you or a local artist?
So what Mad Love is about, and what I've kind of came up with through the name almost, is I really want this brand to be basically supported by or supporting all like local artists and creators and things like that. So I want everything that you see, anything that you see that has Mad Love, that is Mad Love, is created by a local Staten Islander or just, one of my friends, somebody who is an artist, a creator. So the logos, all the branding is created by my friend Romello. His name on Instagram is Print Mellow. He's a great graphic designer. And then all the can art is created by my best friend Jason, who's on Instagram as Zine NYC. He's also actually in school for graphic design, but he actually worked with me at Flagship full time for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
But now he's like full time into the graphic design, and basically he's like my go-to for anything I need graphic design wise when it comes to Mad Love. So he was actually one of the people I was going to open up a brewery with, and then he was just like, you know what, I like this better, and I was like, you know what. It's better for us to coexist, parallel than
competing.
Than to get into business together. I don't think it's good to get in business with your friends.
No,
so
it sometimes works out, but a lot of times it doesn't. So that I totally understand.
No.
Now, last question from me, Ricky. Your price point for the beer is certainly reasonable, $10.50 for a 4-pack. Also, you went with 12-ounce cans instead of 16-ounce. Why 12-ounce as opposed to 16-ounce?
Well, I think I didn't go to school I didn't go to school at all, but when it comes to like marketing and stuff, I just feel like being in this industry for a while, when you see a 16-ounce can, you just think craft beer. You think there's just certain mental things that come when you see a taller can, a shorter can, a skinny can. When you think of a skinny can, you think of seltzers and those long drinks
Right.
and stuff like that. So I just think it's a psychological thing. I wanted to come off as a PBR, a Budweiser, something more approachable, just easier to drink. Also, I wanted to bring that price point down. And you do see a lot of, you're more likely to see a 6-pack with 12-ounce cans. But I wanted to do a 4-pack with 12-ounce cans to kind of make this is a craft beer, but also a little more approachable, a little with the price, the ABV, and the flavor. That was kind of just my idea. When I charge you, when I charge you in person for a 4-pack, it's just $10. You just give me a $10 bill. It's just super easy.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a little.
I totally get it because
approachable.
the only other one that I can think of in the New York area that sells 12-ounce cans in 4-packs is Nightglow in Brooklyn, and their cans are somewhat similar to yours. Obviously, differences in color and things of that nature, but that's sort of the vibe that they're going for. I love it, and for $10.50 for a 4-pack. I think it's a fantastic price point. My guest has been Ricky Boyance. He's the man behind Mad Love Beer. They're available for purchase around Staten Island, a couple spots in New York City, and of course you can head over to Flagship Brewery. They have the beer there as well. For more info on the beer and the clothing they sell, just go to madlovebeer.com, or you can follow on Instagram at madlovebeernyc. Ricky, we're out of time, but thanks so much for joining me tonight. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate this, man.
You got it. Anytime. Up next, it's Suds and Duds on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. All right, final segment of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Little Cranberries, Dreams. This is from their debut album way back. I remember this, 1993. Everybody else is doing it. So why can't we? I remember introducing the track Sunday on Radio Free New York. Interesting how that memory suddenly pops into your head when it comes to a band. That's the amazing thing about music and beer, right? And we were just talking about it with Ricky Boyance in the last segment about how music and, booze sort of go together. You're drinking, you're listening to a song, it invokes a memory, good or bad. A lot of times I like the good memories, but every once in a while a bad one will crop up. It happens. But it's amazing how that connection happens, that you can hear a song and it brings you back to a moment, maybe a concert, maybe when you were first listening to the song with somebody special, maybe when you were just listening to a song, with a group of people, you're out, whatever, and certain things ding off. The Verve's Bittersweet Symphony always reminds me of people that I worked with back in the late 90s at MJI Broadcasting, and how they'd get together on Thursday nights. That was the big party night. And every once in a while I would show up because I had to be up early in the morning and get together with everyone. And that song was playing. That's the things that you remember. It's pretty cool. All right, let's dive into Suds and Duds. Sunday Morning Stout. I had bought this at Weyerbacher back in June when I was dropping my wife off at my brother-in-law's house. And on the way back, it was Father's Day. I remember this. I was on the way back, and I said, hey, let me stop at Weyerbacher. They just, they reopened, and they have new ownership or whatever. Had a couple of beers there, not bad. And then they had, Sunday Morning Stout. I was like, you know what? I haven't had this in forever. Still as delicious as I remember it. Coffee, chocolate, boozy, delicious. In fact, somebody I'd posted on, I think it was the League of Extraordinary Beers on Facebook. And somebody said, how old is that bottle? Got to be, 7, 8, 9 years old or whatever. And I said, no, it's recent. They've been open. Apparently, maybe, I don't know, obviously this guy doesn't live in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, but didn't realize that Weyerbacher was back open again under new ownership. And, this is a fresh Sunday Morning Stout, not something that's been sitting for 8, 9 years. So really cool. It's delicious. And by the way, Weyerbacher is coming out with Sunday Morning Stout again I believe it's over Thanksgiving weekend, so definitely want to check that out. Had some beers with friends, dear friends from middle school and high school, about a week ago on a Friday night over at Paragon Tap and Table. It was great to see Louise and Claudia and Debbie. Debbie and Louise and I had met in middle school. Claudia and I met in high school. Just a really great time and great conversation. Started off with the Root and Branch Art Star, fantastic, juicy, lovely. Yes, I wrote lovely in the description. Great beer. I love everything that Root and Branch does. Fantastic stuff. Too Much Fun by Wet Ticket. Paragon, I think, is the only one that has a keg still left on tap. If it's still available, there is another batch that's going to be coming out very soon. It's a banging beer. I love it. One that they had on tap that I was surprised. I saw it, and I said, you know what? I was still in the mood for an IPA. I said, I got to have this. Pivot by Bradley Brew Project. A solid IPA. I was very surprised. You know, my issue with Bradley Brew Project and their other facility, whose name escapes me at the moment, Tall Oaks. Bradley's beers are good. Tall Oaks, I think sort of, and again, this was December that I went there, was missing the mark a little bit. I need to go back since it's obviously been, 10, 11 months since I've been back there. And maybe I will wait till December and sort of a year later see what they've done. My only drawback with Tall Oaks is their tap room is very small. So if it's cold out, it's a tiny, tiny tap room, which is not good. But I find Bradley's beers to be better. I mean, that's just plain and simple. And this was very enjoyable, I have to say. The Fest beer by Bolero Snort, banging beer. That's a delicious Fest beer. I should have got it in a 4-pack of that. You know, next time I'm at Bolero, if it's there, I'm going to grab it because I have a big, German Stein from Bolero, and I should pour a couple of Fest beers in there and drink them one day. Just because why not? This was the beer, though, at Paragon that I had to have because I saw it on tap, on Untapped, and you can follow me there at Gattullo, Gattullo. When I saw this was on the list, I said, oh, I'm loving it. Timber Ales. I love Timber Ales. They had one of their stouts on tap. Blueberry pancakes by Campfire. This is so good. Blueberry forward, nice hit of maple syrup, but nothing about it cloying, too much maple, too much blueberry. Everything is very well balanced. Fantastic beer. I mean, I sipped that for probably 45 minutes. Really let it warm up. Delicious. Really enjoyed that a whole heck of a lot. That was, I got to say, I love Timber Ales. I love their beers. I wish there were more of them in New Jersey. I would buy more, but what are you going to do? The Farrier by Booter Beer. This is their black IPA. I have to say, thin, low carbonation. The roastiness was there. The carb though got me because their cans are a little bit bigger than a 16-ounce can, and when I cracked it, there was no. You didn't really get that carbonation. So I'm wondering if they're naturally carbing it. But when I poured it, very little head on it and thin. It was okay. It was drinkable, but I wasn't super crazy about it. The Piston Pilsner from Source, come on. Crispy, super crushable. What else do I have to tell you about Source? They're fantastic. Everything they touch is wonderful. And there are haters out there, but I don't know why you hate them because their beers are excellent time and time again. I think I've had maybe one bad beer from Source. And then finally, Denny and Patty from NJ Beer Partners have brought me back a couple of beers from WeldWorks. I finally cracked into one of them, Kid in a Candy Store. Solid milk stout. The peanut butter is very present. Comes off a tad artificial, though, to me. Very drinkable, almost like a liquid Baby Ruth. It's a good beer. I felt like the peanut butter after a couple of sips felt more artificial than fresh. I don't know if that makes any sense. I haven't gotten to the soy beer yet, Denny, and I will very soon. That last weekend was not the weekend that I wanted to do it. Maybe this weekend. We'll see what happens. My thanks to everybody involved in the show, as well as my guest, Ricky Boyance. the man behind Mad Love Beer, which is available for purchase around Staten Island and in a couple of spots in New York City. MadLoveBeer.com for more information there. And, of course, last but not least, the great Buddy Watson. Great conversation last weekend, Buddy. I'll be back live on the Joe Piscopo Show Monday at 6 a.m. This has been the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Cheers, everybody.